Hi guys, this is Jackie Cooper again with JCooperTravels, and this is the second part of our podcast with Wilma. And for those that might not have heard the first part of the podcast, I definitely would check out the link that is going to be in the little block above the podcast and also at the YouTube, because Wilma has a wonderful business. It is a business that creates baklava, which is just mouth-watering. And Wilma, thank you so much for being on this part of the podcast. I know that you have a background that has a little bit of everything in it. You have a little bit of Greek from, your husband's side. You had said you have a little bit of Native American, and we were talking about the travel, and you said that you remember when your family took road trips. You want to tell a little bit more about the road trips around the country, because these days with COVID, a lot of us are taking road trips.
True. I think I cut my teeth on being a road warrior at a very young age. My dad was just determined. He was a former school teacher, and he was determined that we would see the United States. So every summer, we'd all pile in the family station wagon and hit the road for 3 weeks. And we've always laughed about those historical markers that are along the roadway. And every time Daddy'd see one, he'd pull over and he'd say, "Okay, everybody out. We're going to go see and read the historical marker." And us kids called it the hysterical marker. But we'd fidget and look in the distance and look at whatever it was we were supposed to while Daddy read to us. And I can still remember a lot of what I learned from just those little hysterical markers that we had and that went along. But I think that I sat down one time and figured it out, but I think I've been probably in about 46 or 47 of the states. And that used to be a big deal. It's just everybody's been in all the states now because at least they flew over them. And many people consider that as counting. I don't. You have to touch ground as far as I'm concerned. But I got very brave about travel, and we've traveled some internationally. My husband's Greek, and his father came from the island of Crete. So we still go back to Greece and visit family. And a part of the bucket list now that we're reaching this time in our age of our life is for us to get back to Crete to see family, because the family that we knew was just getting married and that kind of thing. And now their children are graduating from college. And I think if we don't get over there, we're going to miss the original family. We've already missed some of them, but it's a unique history, and it's a lot of fun to visit in foreign countries.
It definitely is. And I just want to mention for those listening, in the little block above the podcast is I Go for Less. It's a free access to a member-only travel portal where you can save up to 35% on your travels. And I've been traveling all over, and I'll share a funny story with you about my experience in Crete. I love traveling to Greece. It was over 20 years ago, and one of the things that I remember is you dock, and then you have a choice, or at least I had a choice, and I was traveling by myself, to go to different parts of the island. So I went to one part of the island, and then I thought, well, I'm going to go to another part. And at that point, I was staying probably in a youth hostel, and again, there were all different ages of people that stayed there, but it was a different time period too. So you hid your passport underneath your pillow. And so, because it was safe at that, relatively safe, so you go to the beach, you come back, and so I was, I guess, rushing, and I wasn't thinking, and so I knew I had to catch the bus in order to get to the boat to get back to the mainland. And so when I got back to the main city on Crete, and I can't think of the name of it right now, I was searching in my backpack thinking, where's my passport? And then I realized I had left it back at the hostel. So I had to go all the way back, and it was underneath my pillow, right exactly where I had left it. And then I ended up having to go back. I caught the boat, and the ferry or whatever it was, and went. But it was like, that's what I remember about Crete, is the passport story, even though I do still have some of the dresses and the bags, the leather bags and things like that. I mean, the culture, and ouzo and just the other things,
Oh, Uzo.
So, so any other place that you're thinking about on your bucket list? Those are great places to travel for sure.
Well, we're going to go up into the rainforests and the Olympic Peninsula and all up in that area. We've just a number of years, not just recently, within the last like 8 years, I guess, we finally hit Alaska. We don't do two cruise. We took the train to Seattle and flew to Ketchikan and took the inland passage all the way up and got off, walked through the towns, stayed in bed and breakfast, and took us 15 days. I think it took us 2 weeks to recover from the 15 days of all the toting and carting and walking and everything. But we've seen Alaska, really, if you get right down to it. We go back. There are places we would go back to there, but we've seen it.
You know what? That's Alaska is definitely on my bucket list. And you said something that I love: trains. I mean, that's how I love to travel. I've gone across our country in a train. It took 3 days to go across. It was great. And when my daughter and I traveled in Britain, Scotland, and Wales, we did a train backpacking trip. And you see so much, and you meet people on the train. You're able to talk to them, and
Mm-hmm.
it's a great way to travel, and you don't have to worry about traffic lights or anything from the driving perspective.
Right. Now, we made friends on that train that we've been friends since we were on the train, and we stay in touch with each other. I have several Baklava customers as a result of that trip too. So, like I said, my husband's says I'm good at jabbering at people. So, never met anybody who didn't like.
For sure. So again, I just want to mention that the contact information for Wilma's Baklava will also be on the podcast. So that way you'll be able to enjoy all that wonderful pastry. Thank you so much for being on the travel part of our podcast. I look forward to talking to you again. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jackie.